Hi investigators, Mike Evans from the Australian Security Academy with this week's news of what's been happening in the private investigation industry in Australia. Well, again, it's been a busy week in the industry in Australia, so let's have a look at some of the things that have happened. A lady in Sydney, she's been charged by a buffalo in Sydney southwest, and this has happened earlier on this week. So the ambulances attended, and they said this about the actual attendance. We attend quite a few jobs involving animals, but being called to a buffalo attack in Sydney is one of the more unusual incidents, he said. These types of jobs can be really challenging for paramedics, especially with the possibility of an angry buffalo lurking nearby. They need to be able to get to the patient quickly and have to ensure they are not putting themselves in harm's way. Our paramedics did a fantastic job in providing the best possible care. And this is a screenshot from one of the newspapers that reckons it happened around this area. So what does that mean for your insurance and investigation if your buffalo goes and attacks somebody? Well, it can depend where it is. Now, this one, it said it happened in Denham Court in Sydney southwest. So basically, whether the owner of the buffalo, their farm insurance covers that, or whether their public liability on the contents of their residence covers that, is what's going to be argued for the injuries and for the ongoing care of the person who was attacked by the buffalo. And one animal you do not want to be attacked by in any way, shape or form is a buffalo. So let's have a look at, a typical situation where it's involving an animal that's strayed. Now, this investigation involved a lady who was driving along the road. She was a haemophiliac, she was HIV positive, and she also had other issues too. So she's had an accident, and the people that stopped behind her offer to help her, and she tells them to stand back because of all the problems she's got. Let's have a look at it. So in this case, the lady was injured in a motor vehicle accident, and she was breathalyzed 3 times prior to this, and she blew over the limit, and she'd lost a licence. And she didn't know why until she found out that she had HIV and she had everything else. And basically that wrecked her liver. So the liver couldn't handle alcohol. So she only had half a glass of wine. She was over the limit. So this happened to her on 3 previous occasions prior to this accident. This accident, there was no alcohol involved. She didn't go to a doctor on the night of the accident. She got thrown out of the car because it takes 5 hours to explain her history, and her doctor was away. It was quite a tragic situation to be in, but she was awarded compensation through the farm insurance of Farmer Smith's insurer. So what it comes down to when you have a buffalo attack, an emu attack, a parrot attack, or a dog attack, or a kitten attack, whatever it is, it's going to be where it's happened and what kind of insurance you've got for that sort of thing. So in this case, it's straying stock. If it was a white horse in the fog, that would be covered by farm insurance. And you'll do a lot of investigations out there, people, of people who work night shift, going to or from work in wintertime in the fog, and they will hit a white horse or a white cow, and they will be involved in an accident. They'll be injured. And I actually went to one of these once, and I was interviewing the police officer who attended the scene, and I asked him about it, and I said, "What was she going slowly and braking, or was she speeding?" He said, "No, she would have been just driving along at the normal speed. She wasn't braking." I said, "How do you know she wasn't braking?" She said, "Because if she'd seen it and hit the brakes, it would have come through the windscreen and killed her. But she didn't see it in the fog. It just went over the top of the car, and that's why she's alive today." So these are some of the things that you're going to see when you're a licensed private investigator out there doing factual investigations for CTP liability, or in the case of our buffalo, it might be a farm liability, or it could even be a home and contents if the buffalo is a domestic pet. I doubt that, but I don't have that kind of information. We've got a new segment this week. We're going to road test in 90 seconds a piece of PI equipment. Now, this happens all the time. You've been to a couple of factual investigations and one of your clients has rung you up and said, "Look, I need you to go and do an urgent brand protection job. I need you to go to the airport and go and buy a designer label handbag. It's only $3,000. Just go in there and buy it, but I need film of it." And you've been to a factual investigation and you haven't got your equipment with you, and you've got to do that before the close of business today at 5 o'clock, and you can't drive back home. So you think, what I'll do is I'll go and buy one of those pen cams from JCar. So let's have a look at how it might pay out in 90 seconds if it'll work for you. Welcome to our first live stream product road test. Today we're going to test the Nextec pen cam from JCar Audio. Now, it happens all the time when suddenly you're redirected to go to another job and you haven't got all your equipment with you, and you need a covert camera for something like a brand protection surveillance exercise or something like that where you're going to. So you run into JCar and you spend $79.50 on their pen camera. So here it is. This is what comes in the box. There's the actual camera part. It says Nextec there. And there's the cord that plugs into your USB in your car to go into your car charger. You're going to charge it up. You need a little 32 gig card to go in it. Don't get the 64, it just gives messy video. So you charge it up, put it together. When it's charging, you'll see that light flashing. So you charge it up and it basically is ready to go. Now, there comes with it a Chinglish little brochure, but get online, one you can read and see the brochure there, how to operate it. It's a simple click method and it's really easy to operate. So there's the online version of the brochure that comes in the box. It just tells you how to operate the video, how to take a photo, all that sort of thing. Here it is from JCar. It's $79.95. It's the Nextec pen. I found it quite a good little pen. The only problem with it's got large branding on the side. It did the job. It will pay for itself in one job. So I'll be back to you in the future if there's any more developments with this one. That's our 90-second product road test from the Australian Security Academy. If you've got a product you'd like to see road tested out there up to the value of $10,000 and you want to pay for it, send it to me and I'll give it a road test. Okay, let's go and have a look at Industry Association.
Investigation Industry Association sounds like a whole bunch of old people doing old people stuff.
The AIPI are coming, have their newsletter coming out this week, sponsored by the Australian Security Academy. So look out for that. The AIPI will be updating all their members on all their news. Over at the AILA, they have people get on board with this one. They have substantially reduced their memberships for this year through COVID-19. So get on to it. This is basically mostly a lawyers' association. So what? That's great. They're future clients for you, the private investigator. So being a member of that association, going to their conferences and meetings when they have them, that's quite advantageous. And if you can get it at a lesser price, go for it. That's really important. One of the things that's happened this week is over in New South Wales, WorkSafe have started a blitz on scaffold safety breaches. Now, what they're saying is that there have been 3 people killed in scaffolding collapse accidents and 25 people seriously injured in that this year in New South Wales. That's an amazingly large amount of people in a very small niche area. It's one thing that you are going to investigate quite a bit as an investigator. Now, I am a real disappointment as a man. I can't even build a dog kennel. I wouldn't know where to start. And if I did, the dog wouldn't use it. That's how bad I am with things like that. So how the hell am I going to go and investigate a scaffolding accident? Technically, it just shouldn't happen. I would have to leave that to the experts over at South Australian Private Detectives, because they would know how to do that. Or at least they'd have a better idea than me, who can't build a dog kennel. But the secret to it, people, you as an investigator, when you go out there and you do an investigation, you don't have to know how to erect scaffolding. It's irrelevant. You're doing an investigation into how that workplace at that time of that accident previously to it erected the scaffolding, how it complied with whatever it complied with, what risk assessments were done prior to it, the experience and training of the people that put it up. That's what an investigator asks of the people who did it, and they tell you. So you do not have to know anything about car engines. You don't have to know anything about the legal system and the law or anything else. You ask the person who's involved in that investigation how they do it and how they did it at the time and how it led to this. So I want you to be really aware of that. You're going to go to things that you don't know anything about. Scaffolding collapses, veranda collapses are really typical things. You get 60 people at a party at the end of the school year, all standing on the veranda, and it collapses, and you've got injured people everywhere. So you're going to be speaking to the builder that built that veranda 15 years ago, or the maintenance person of that body corporate where it collapsed. Who knows? But they're going to tell you about it. You don't have to know anything about it yourself.
Just gotta let it go. I often sit and wish that I could just change my past. To think about you, Dad, there's so much shit that I could ask. Like, why am I still haunted by the day that you left?
Okay, investigation positions vacant have been prolific in both private investigations and government investigations this week. Brennan and Associates in Perth, they want a factual investigator. Surefact want a factual investigator in New South Wales. M&A want factual investigators, and there's a couple of inspector jobs there for the government people. If you are not applying for jobs in this climate, they are prolific for investigators out there at the moment. So you've got to be out there. You've got to be looking. If you don't know where to go and apply for a job, on Facebook, look for Australian Private Investigator Corporate and Government Investigation Jobs. That is Australia's premier source of investigation vacancies. I only put 30% of them up there. I am too busy. People think I tool around on Facebook every Friday with spare time. No, I don't have that. So I put jobs up there so you can see genuinely what's available. Now, you'll have to Google it and find out their addresses and stuff like that. But the jobs are there today, October 2nd, 2020. Get on there and have a look and start applying and get your dream job in investigations. One of my most frequently asked questions, and it's not by South Australian Private Detectives because they know the answer to this one, is, okay, I'm a new private investigator. I have got my qualification and I've got my license. I've done my training at the Australian Security Academy. Good on you. That was the right thing to do. Well done. That's what the employers want to hear. Okay, so you've done the right thing. Can I go and work somewhere for free and get some experience? No, you don't go and work anywhere for free and get some experience. You contact the employers that you see on my Facebook page, regularly advertising for people, right? And you speak to them. They want you to do factual investigations for them. They want you to do it in your local area. They will send you out, yes, for a couple of days with one of their investigators so you can see how they do it. Yes, that's free, right? But you're not going to be doing an investigation by yourself for free. They consider you as licensed and as qualified an investigator that's capable of doing a factual investigation. They do. They don't want you working for free. That's not going to happen. They don't have anyone working for free. None of them have anyone working for free. They will pay you to do the work. Yes, 2 days of, if you like, in the field, watching how one of their investigators does that. And when I started, it was 6 months of doing that. That's the only way. There was no courses. That's what you had to do. So Ray King took me out for 6 months and showed me how to take statements. Couple a day. Anyway, so you don't work for anyone for free. Their expectation is you're licensed, you're qualified, learn their system by watching a couple of interviews that they conduct, and then they will help you and assist you grow into it. So there's no working for anyone for free. The next question I'm asked, which is very similar to this, I want to do surveillance, I want to get one of those pen cams and I want to do surveillance. Can I go out on a ride along? I'm not licensed, I'm not trained, but you've got some connections. Can you send me out? Yeah, well, everybody wants to do that. There isn't a person on planet Earth that doesn't want to do that because they all want to find out how it works and how it goes. And I'll tell you what, you can have 12 hours on surveillance, which is the most boring 12 hours of your life. You'll be wishing you were home playing Monopoly. It'd be more exciting. But look, you can't go out on surveillance and you can't go on a ride along if you are untrained and unlicensed. The employers have agreements with their clients. We will only engage licensed, trained, qualified private investigators to do our work. It's in our agreement that we have with you. We won't take anyone and everyone and just bung them in and go along and let them see what's happened on a surveillance operation. That will never, ever, ever happen. Okay? It won't. So you must be licensed to go out and do that. And just like the factual investigators, once you get there, they'll send you out on a couple of surveillance jobs with someone else. Then, yes, but not if you're unlicensed. So I hope that answers the question and just clears up that little matter. So that's really important. You must understand that this is serious. This is people's privacy. This is really, really important.
So let's stay together.
Okay, and our movie of the week, I'm referring back to one we had earlier this year, and unfortunately this person, Michael Lonsdale, died this week. Michael Lonsdale was a person who played bad guy Drax in Moonraker, the James Bond movie, and he also played the pigeon-loving French detective who took down the jackal in the movie The Day of the Jackal. So look, he was great in that movie. We showed a little clip of it and I got banned from Facebook and banned from YouTube for showing that clip. And it showed him how he bugged all the ministers in the French Parliament's phones to find out who was leaking information to their mistress. So Michael Lonsdale passed away, unfortunately, this week. Out of respect for him, everybody should be watching The Day of the Jackal who's interested in investigations, because it is a really great investigation movie. So rest in peace, Michael Lonsdale. And people, Day of the Jackal, great movie. Watch The Day of the Jackal. Good fun, really good fun. Boy, what am I getting through now? So I've done all that. Yeah, okay. Gee, I upset a lot of people with this program. People write into me, and they message me and they text me and they ring me up and they go, "You're talking about me. You were talking about me. Blah, 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 blah. You directed that at me. Me. Well, I wasn't. Some people get carried away with their importance. I'm not talking about anyone in particular and anything I do in here. The big thing when you see that as an investigator that you must understand is someone will take umbrage about something and they'll think it's about them. Yeah, they may have a mental disability or whatever. But what they're doing is they're guessing. There's no factual basis for what they're saying. There's no evidence of it. And look, as investigators, we all do it. And that's quite scary. So there are people out there with a screw loose who think it's all about me, and we do it ourselves. So how do you overcome that? You must understand where it comes from. Now, I sit through a lot of investigation conferences, and they are as boring as all hell. They got no relevance, they got no information. And I have sat down over the last 20 years and I've seen the experts say things in 5 minutes that other people can't say in an hour and a half. And what you're about to watch, if I could teach you one thing as an investigator who does investigations, it's what this man says about one thing and what he says about 5 facts and how you do that, and how our job is about learning, not just about investigations, but about ourselves too. He died last year. He was one of the most well-respected investigators in Victoria and Australia. Let's have a look at Peter Spencer's explanation of tunnel vision. Don't make things out of one fact. Don't make 5 facts out of one thing. There's a person who knew his art, and he even admitted it himself. He was so intent sometimes on proving that this person did this or that. He got tunnel vision. Now that is a big admission for any investigator. None of us will admit to that. We've all done it. Some of us are doing it this week. Some of us are doing it as we speak. They do it about me for 24 hours a day. You've got a bow tie. Okay, so last week we had a look at a couple of typical examples of what we will investigate as investigators, and instantly, like we predicted it, in Brisbane earlier this week, there was a traffic crash where a truck load shift and it rolled over. So basically, you know, we were saying these are common things. Now there's an investigator who will be going out next week, the week after. They wouldn't have been at the scene. That's a police thing, an emergency service thing. That investigator is going to be going out. He's going to be, or she's going to be investigating that rollover. And remember, you don't have to know anything about trucks. They're going to tell you about the maintenance and the servicing and the training and all that sort of thing. You're going to get all that as an investigator. So that happened last week. The truck rolled in Brisbane and it hit the news, and people were commenting on the news site, looks like asbestos in there. I don't know whether it was or wasn't, but people say that sort of thing. So that's something that just happened as a typical investigation. This investigation, seriously, is probably going to go on for a year and a half, just with what's involved here, the insurance of the truck, the injury to the driver, that sort of thing. So that's very typical of what we do. Now, one of the other things, and people say to me, you're very blasé about fatal accidents. And you talk on here about, you interviewed this person over this fatal accident, you went to that fatal accident and this fatal accident. Well, when you put your hand up to be an investigator, you don't really investigate a lot of childbirth, right? So you are going to investigate a lot of fatal accidents. None of them are funny. None of them are flippant. And I'm not flippant about them. I'm explaining about them so you can learn from the experience. Now, you will have fatal accidents for a range of things: workers' compensation, CTP liability, motor vehicle accident, all sorts of strange things. They could be someone falls down the stairs at home, and that might be a visitor, and that your home and contents insurance is going to be investigating that fatal accident. So there are a whole range of fatal accidents that we investigate. Now, one of the really difficult ones, and it's come up down in Tasmania, And it's typical of what you're going to get as a private investigator. But play my Tasmanian music first.
And I just couldn't let go.
Okay, down in Tasmania, the police are still trying to find out what happened to Gary John Hayes, who was tragically killed in the early hours of the morning on New Year's Day 2019 when he was struck by a truck. Now, the police think that the truck driver would not have known that they struck him and killed him, and therefore they failed to stop. So they've done all sorts of testing, visibility testing and stuff like that. Now, this is the police criminal investigation into that accident. You, as a CTP liability investigator, you are going to do these investigations as well. So you're going to get exactly the same. It was a dark night. The young man was wearing dark clothing. He was walking along the side. Well, he was found deceased on the side of the road by someone walking their dog. So there is insurance cover for that. So basically, you will get these investigations. So be prepared for them. Now, the police have difficulty with these. Your role is not to find out which truck killed him. No, that's not your role. Your role is to try and find out as much as you possibly can about the last couple of days of that man's presence on this earth. You know, where they'd been, that sort of thing, what they'd been doing. And you'll be speaking to witnesses, the people that found him, the relatives, that sort of thing. And you'll be putting together a report for the CTP insurer or nominal defendant, whatever it might be. And you're going to do those. They're typical things that you will do. Now, I got asked a question when I was interviewed last week by Mario Beckus on his radio show. He said to me, Mike, he said, you do a lot of fatal accidents investigations. And I said, yes, Mario, I've done 174 of them over 32 years or so. He said, well, doesn't that weigh on your conscience a bit? And I've reflected on this as he asked me, because I'm on live radio, and I thought, well, it does. And he said, how do you deal with it? And it was a question that I answered early on in my career for myself, because I wanted to know how to deal with that, because I didn't know. I was doing investigations into accidents where children were killed, young ladies were killed at a very in their late teens. You know, these things don't happen to 85-year-olds at the end of their life. And I said to him, I actually interviewed a police officer one day who was telling me a tragic story of an accident scene he went to. We finished the interview and I just put my pen down and I said to him, how do you deal with that? You're doing that fairly constantly, because he was a country copper and this was a well-known accident area. And he said, Mike, he said, when I get home after work at 5:30 at night and I take my policeman's uniform off and hang it up on the wall, I'm not policeman Pat anymore. I'm just Pat Citizen. So I don't dwell on it. I hang up and I take off those responsibilities and things I carry in my work on a hook and I leave them there. And I put them behind me and I go and play with my kids and I have a chat with my wife and I don't burden them with what I do. Now, I don't know whether that's suppressing it. I do not know. But when I get home after an investigation, particularly a fatal one, I make a big point taking my tie off, because I wear a tie out of respect for the people who I'm interacting with. That's what I do. I'm very old-fashioned. I don't wear a bow tie and look like a ponce. I wear a normal tie. And I take it off and I hang it up on the coat hook, and that's the end of my investigations for that day. So that's the way I've always dealt with it. So it's the only way I know. And it's always worked for me. So you can think about that. Some things will work for you. That one may not. But I'm sure doctors and nurses take their uniforms off and leave their work behind, and they have more tragic and very real presence with those sorts of things. I was never present at it. I was only talking to people about it afterwards. So it may be a little bit easier. So keep in mind, people, what are you going to investigate? You're going to investigate people who are confused over things. Oh, they directed comments at me, blah, blah, blah. Tunnel vision, keep that in mind. You don't have to go out and prove anything. Your role is to find the evidence. Now, if there is evidence of that, that's what you're paid to find. And if there's no evidence of that, you're still paid because there's no evidence of what they're claiming. So what they're claiming has to be real. It can't be just tunnel vision and rumour and all that. It's got to be factual, just the facts. So people, I've gone over my time. It's been a very busy week at the Australian Security Academy. G'day to Evan and everybody at South Australian Private Detectives, doing a great job down there. I do not blatantly, freely promote anybody else's investigation company at all. And I wouldn't do that for Evan at South Australian Private Detectives, who sent me this hat this week. Thanks, Evan. It's great. Really, I've been wearing it when I've been riding my bike with the grandkids on school holidays. Have a great week, people. It's been really good having you here. I'm going out with my Koreans. My mission is complete for this week.
작전 종료. 전원 복귀할 것.
Thanks for the comments, people, and your support. Yes, it's really important to debrief. And yes, things like chess and things like hobbies and that are really great things as well. Thanks for the feedback, people. Next week, we've got a couple more of our camouflage dogs. We're going to be looking at domain name registration next week. We're going to go really deeply into that. That's been an exciting development at the start of this week, and we'll show you how that all works. We'll see you then. I'm Mike Evans from the Australian Security Academy. Thanks for watching.